Hey guys, it's the Gardening Moose, and I'm just going to take a minute and talk to you about growing vegetables in containers. For a couple of years now, we've been involved with a system called Container Gardening in 3D that is based on this book by Matt Jensch, who is a local author out of the Salt Lake area. And we have seen some fantastic results using his method. We do happen to carry the book in stock and have it available online at thegardengateway.com. And so if you want to check out the book, you can find it there. I'm going to take a few minutes and show you how you can maximize your yield out of growing in a 20-gallon pot or a 20-inch container like the one that I have right here. And so the first thing is we're going to start with a pot that has roughly a 20 to a 22-inch diameter, and I'll show you why we like that size. Well, there's a couple of things. One, we like to have the depth to it be at least 18 to 24 inches, which this one is. Gives us a lot of room in the pot to grow in. And then the width-wise, we like to have it because we like to use these little mini greenhouse covers called solar caps. And they are designed to fit a pot that's 20 to 22 inches in diameter. And so these will fit right on the top of it. I'm going to take you out later and show you some of the gardens that I've planted, and I'll show you the difference between using one of these and not using one of these. So anyways, we're going to start with a pot that size. We're going to use our potting mix that we use here in the greenhouse. Now, a lot of you are used to our soil. We have made a change this year after 17 years of growing in the same mix from a different company. We had some quality issues that weren't addressed over the last couple of years. And so we've made a change in soil. This still has the coconut fiber in it, which we're huge fans of, and has been absolutely fantastic. We absolutely love it. This is a 2.8 cubic foot bag. That's going to be just right for a pot this size. I'm just going to put that down in there. And it really is just a right fit. And I'm just going to kind of settle that down a little bit. The last thing I want to do is press it down. I don't want to compact it down into the pot right there. I want to keep that soil nice and loose. That's the nice thing about using a potting soil, is that you have great aeration in the soil itself. And if you come in and smash it down or compact it down, you're destroying that aeration, and then all of a sudden you're going to get waterlogged roots. You're not going to get the airflow in there that you need. So I'm going to start by doing that, and then the next thing I'm going to do in this system, well, first off, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be kneeling to do this. The nice thing about this system is you can literally do it sitting in a chair. In fact, I filmed a video last year sitting in a chair doing it. You could also do it sitting on a bucket. But I've got these nice kneeling pads that we have come across. This one's a little bit thinner, but it does a great job. This super thick one is awesome. And these aren't just for gardening. You could use these for cleaning in the home if you want to get down on your hands and knees and mop the floor or anything else that you're doing on the ground. So I'm going to use one of those to kneel and do this. I'm going to walk over here and grab a couple of plastic pots and talk to you about what you can do with this. Right now in Cache Valley, it's still cold outside. It's way too cold to be planting tomatoes or peppers or cucumbers or any of your warm season stuff. You don't want to be doing that, but we are going to plant those in these pots eventually. Right now, we're going to focus on the stuff that we can plant. We're going to put in some carrots. We're going to put in some lettuce. We're going to put in some radishes. You could be doing chard right now, kale right now. I've got beets and carrots in some of mine that are outside growing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an X right across the container there. And then I'm going to take some little 4-inch plastic pots. If you don't have something like this, solo cups work really well. Plastic though, not paper. Paper will disintegrate as you put water on it. You want to make sure you're using plastic. And if it's something like a solo cup that doesn't have holes in it, make sure you turn it upside down so it's not sitting like this and collecting water for mosquitoes to live in. And I'm just going to dig a hole right there, and I'm going to bury these 4 cups in the pot. And the purpose of the 4 cups is this is where I'm going to plant my warm season vegetables later. Right now I'm going to plant my cool season stuff in around these, and then when I'm ready to put my tomatoes and my peppers and everything else, I can just pull these little 4 plastic cups out, and I don't disturb the roots of my carrots or whatever else that I have in here. And so I'm going to put those in there just as placeholders. Come back through later, I'll pop in tomatoes or cucumbers or peppers or whatever else that I want to grow in the pot. And so the whole idea of this 3D container gardening is that a lot of people, when they grow in a container like this, vegetables, they think they're going to put one tomato in the middle of the pot and that's all they're going to put in there and grow it. But there's so much wasted room when you do that, because you have all of this soil volume down here. You have all of this airspace out around the container as well, and all of this space that trails down over the pot. And the whole idea behind gardening like this is that we're going to use all of that space and fill it up with vegetables to maximize our yield. And so I'm going to go ahead and plant a couple of different things right now. I'm just going to take my finger tool, and this is a specialized tool, very expensive. And I'm just going to make a line like that. And today I'm going to be planting some cherry bell radishes, which a lot of people don't know that we do carry seed and have seed available. It is also currently available online for curbside pickup. But cherry bell radishes. And with this, you know, when you open a seed pack, there's always guidelines on how far apart you're going to space stuff. The nice thing about using this nice loose soil is that I've got, as plants grow, they can grow out into the soil, and it's not going to be too tight. And so I'm not going to worry too much about how tightly I space them. So I'm just going to come through here, plant my cherry bell radishes. The other nice thing is as I pull these and eat them, I'm going to be naturally thinning them out anyways. And so that's my cherry bell radishes right there. And then I'm going to come and make a second line just a little bit further in. And I'm going to plant carrots into there. So, radishes right now, they're going to grow up on the outside of the pot. Radishes finish in 40 to 50 days, and so I'll be able to pull those about the time I'm ready to plant my warm season stuff in there. And so, I want to take advantage of the soil in the bottom of the pot. So I'm going to take my carrots, and I'm going to plant my carrots right around this inner circle. And that way my carrots can grow down into the soil while everything is growing up or over the rest of the container. Now, the other nice thing about using a potting soil for this, anybody who's ever planted carrots out in the garden knows that it can be hard to get them to germinate, because you can only bury them very, very shallow. And as well, the wind has a tendency to blow them away. They have a tendency to dry out really fast. And so it can be tricky. And growing them in a nice potting soil like this, they grow exceptionally well. They germinate quickly. They have a nice loose soil to grow down into. Now, if you notice, I'm not covering any of this up. I'll come back and I'll do that later. And then I'm going to come through and I'm going to plant some lettuce in the middle of this pot. I'm just going to poke little holes in there. I'm going to actually plant a mix of salad greens. In there, just like that. So there you go. I've got lettuce, I've got carrots, I've got radishes in there. And then, like I said, we don't want to be patting the soil down. We don't want to be compacting it. Just take the back of your hand, fill over all of your seed that you just put into the ground like that. And then you would water it and go from there. I am going to use a slow release fertilizer. Normally I like to get this put into the soil and mix it into the soil before I plant. I didn't get that done simply because I forgot, if you want to know the truth. And so I'm just going to take it, top dress it on there, make it till it looks about right. Like that. The nice thing about this slow release fertilizer, it's got the micro encapsulated micronutrients on there. Including iron. This has got a 6-month feed, so it's going to go throughout the summer. I will come through and reapply this once again in July, just to make sure that I'm feeding all of my plants as much as I need to. And then I would go through and water that. And for right now, I would take my solar cap, yeah, I've got my little greenhouse set up on top of my plants right there. And I'd be all ready to go. This could go outside right now. It would keep soil temperatures warm enough that all the cool season stuff that is in there would germinate and start to grow. Like I said, I'll take you out. I'll show you some of the containers that I've already done. Show you the difference between using this and not using this. So I want to just take a minute. I'll tell you a little bit about this solar cap. This solar cap is made from a UV treated greenhouse plastic material. It is the same thing that I have on the sidewalls of my greenhouse. I've had this material on the sidewalls of my greenhouse for 17 years. And it has started to finally break down after 17 years. But that fabric on the greenhouse is up there 365 days a year. These solar caps are... you're only going to use them for 3 to 4 months out of the year, and then if you clean them, fold them up, and put them away, they're going to last for a very long time. You could easily get 10, 15, maybe even 20 years out of them. And so they're a little bit pricey, but if you divide it out by the years, you're going to spend $1 a year, $2 a year, whatever it comes out to be. They're not going to take a whole lot. All right, guys, so here's my 3D container gardens up and growing, and I just want to take a minute and show you what I've been able to do in these pots right now. So right here, I have got 3 different varieties of peas, and they are up about, well, let's see, one of them's in the middle there, but they're up about 6 inches or so in height. In fact, it's time I need to get my cages in there so that they can get growing up and yeah, have somewhere to go. So my peas are up and doing awesome. You can see in this pot right here, I've got fantastic radishes. My carrots are in there and germinated and coming along. Right here, I've got some nice spinach. I've got some lettuce just starting to come up. I've got beets in and coming up. Right here, spinach. I've got, let's see, I think I have parsnips, or what the small ones are, just coming up around the outside of that. More peas. Right here, I want to take a minute and show you an example. So I use these solar caps, these little mini greenhouses that fit on the top of a 20 to 22 inch size container, and wanted to show you the difference between using one of these and not using one. So this pot right here and the pot with the cage next to it, those 2 pots were both seeded on the same day about 3 weeks ago. And so you can see that the one that had the solar cap on it, there is a huge difference in how far along it is and how well the vegetables are doing there. And the other one is coming along. Stuff is germinating, coming up, and I'm still going to get produce out of it. So it's still going to do its job, and it's still going to work. But I'm going to be harvesting stuff off of that a good 2 weeks earlier than I would have. And so that's the solar cap. You can look down inside of this one. It's a little bit younger. You got a mess of kale going in there, and then I don't remember what I planted on the outside that's just starting to germinate, but just starting to come along. Right here, I've got some radishes there on the outside, beets in the middle. And then, so what I'm going to do with these is I'll come through, I'll harvest all my lettuce, I'll harvest my radishes. I can let my carrots grow down into the soil all summer long or until they're ready. I can reseed carrots later. But if you look right here in this one, you can see that I've got these 4 cups in there. What I'll do is when the time comes, which believe me, it's way too early right now, when the time comes to put out tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and squashes or whatever else I decide to grow in these containers, I'll just pull those cups out of there. And by doing that, I don't disturb the roots of everything else that's already growing in there. I'll pull those cups out of there, drop my tomatoes in, drop my peppers, whatever I want, and grow my warm season stuff in these pots through the summer. To give you an idea of how much yield I can get out of one of these pots. Last year, we were able to get close to 40 pounds of tomatoes out of one single pot, which is just phenomenal. Cucumbers, I couldn't even tell you, we should have kept count. But I grew one of these last year with 2 tomatoes, 2 cucumbers in the same pot. And we harvested cucumbers forever. I mean, they just did absolutely fantastic in them. We did several of these pots last year with 4 tomatoes in each pot. And you might ask how we go about doing that, but rather than growing our tomatoes up through the middle of the cage, we actually come and plant our tomatoes right at the base of these 4 legs of the tomato cage, and we tie the tomatoes right to the outside of the cage. And by the time we put all 4 on there, it keeps it nice and evenly distributed from a weight standpoint, and we use all of the area outside of the pot for the tomato to grow in rather than the area inside the pot. So we're able to plant 4 tomato plants in a single pot and have them do exceptionally well. But out of a single pot, I'm easily able to get 40 to 50 carrots out of a pot. Radishes, I can get 50 to 60 radishes or more out of a pot. Lettuce, spinach, I will cut 2 or 3 times out of a single pot before it gets too hot and it bolts. Beets, usually I can get 20, 30 beets to a pot, and so it just depends. Last year, the peas, with the cold wet weather that we had, they didn't even finish until July, but we were able to harvest a ton of peas off of these pots. And so this is a fantastic way for you to garden if you live in an apartment, you live in a condo, but as well if you're mobility limited and you have a hard time getting down on your knees. This is something that you can plant from a chair or sitting on a 5-gallon bucket. Literally, I can plant one of these gardens in 5 minutes and be done with it. And so I'm just using my soil mix that we use here at the greenhouse and that we have available for sale. These are in a 20-gallon nursery pot. Anything 20 to 22 inches. I recommend having at least a good 18 inches, 15, 18 inches of depth so that you can grow root crops like beets, radishes, carrots in the pot and have room to go from there. But anyways, that's our 3D container gardens. Have a great day, guys.